And then to start, we wanted to tell a little bit about what brought this program together and the story. So back in April, this is Buttercup. She is a 2-year-old bloodhound and my service dog. She detects food allergens for me and detects high histamine levels for me. But back in April, let me get her to sit up here with me. We had a scary incident in one evening when we were taking out our trash and our door to our home wasn't sealing well. And Buttercup got out and went on a running adventure. And unfortunately, our running adventure started lasting for days. And here we want to give credit. I know some of you are here in the audience with us tonight for the Eagle County Lost Pets team, friends of ours who helped look for her, because I was also hospitalized at the time. So we couldn't even go out and look for her. So Eagle County came out in amazing ways to help look for Buttercup. And one of the amazing connections we had was the coworker of a friend of ours who connected us with Aimee, who had helped find her dog in the past. And so without having ever been to Colorado, first time, we met via text and sent pictures of Buttercup. And so we started communicating that way, her more so with my husband, since I was a little out of it at the time, to start figuring out where Buttercup was. And feel free to jump in at any point in here, but you sent us a map and said that she was surrounded by concrete walls. So we're looking around Eagle going, concrete walls. There's no concrete walls. We're looking for upwards concrete walls, but we're looking for a couple days. And we're following this map on the left, if you can see it. And you can see the pin there. And you can see where the road dips down there. And then if you see the other map where the pin drops, that's the map they sent us when they found her, following Aimee's map. And you can see where that, again, where the road dips down, dead center on it. So following that map, Elena, who's here tonight, and Sabrina, our friend, said that it's too dead on, it's too specific, we're going to go keep looking there. So they followed her around and followed this map, and lo and behold, concrete walls. James, if you can go. She was in an abandoned foundation for 4 days. But little dehydrated, otherwise, or just a couple pounds down, actually not even dehydrated. Her gums were fine. We went straight to the vet. And there again, Elena, who's here with us, helped get her out of the foundation. We were still, again, in the hospital, but with Aimee's guidance, we never otherwise would have even known this foundation was back behind this house in Eagle. But there she was, and fortunately, happy reunion. So,
and she was, can you hear me okay on this? She was surrounded by deer, and I had received a message that she had, or I think your husband told me, she had a deer that would come up and talk with her. And your friend found her surrounded by a herd of deer, which just gives me goosebumps every time I tell that story. So they were protecting her.
And this deer herd still comes to our backyard and stays with her. They still come over to visit. It's wild.
It's amazing.
They'll be silently hanging out together in our yard off the BLM land. It's remarkable. A couple mamas and 4 young deer. So still, they were there. They were over at the house yesterday. She's got quite a play group going. And then, of course, we were then wonderfully connected via Gary and then connected to our other panelists. So, Jacqueline, I will hand it over to you from there. But again, thank you so much. We're excited to learn more from you all.
Welcome, everybody. And what is so amazing, wild, incredible about all of this is that this started happening this year, as a result of Megan's dog going on an adventure, which could have gone any which way, but if it weren't for Aimee and finding out about Aimee, who has tremendous gifts, we can go into that later. But these are stories that you will remember, and I'm sure that everyone here will remember, and the dog will remember too. And hopefully, from what everybody said, she won't go out on an adventure like this again. But the story is a story that should go into the news. I don't know if it did go into the news or some of your other stories. Yeah. I was telling Aimee that we know of a person who has psychic abilities in the Denver area who worked for a couple of different counties for the sheriff's department to find missing persons, dead or alive. And we know that this can happen. But this finding animals like this is more of a joyous thing, especially when the animal is alive and it all has such a happy ending. But I don't know if you have seen the little commercial that Eckhart Tolle, how many of you know who Eckhart Tolle is? I bet a lot of you do. He is doing a commercial for one of his programs that he's done a number of times, and he shows his little black French bull. And what he always says is this: look at your animals and know they have beautiful consciousness, they have sentience, they have unconditional love. And the big thing about animals is they do have a lack of ego. And I think intuitive people can get close to these wonderful animals because of that. They're not armoring themselves with their egos like many of our humans are doing. So that's Eckhart Tolle, and the other big name of animal biology and spirituality is Rupert Sheldrake from Great Britain. He wrote a very famous book called Dogs That Know When Their Owners Are Coming Home. He documents hundreds of anecdotal reports from pet owners who say their dogs or cats seem to anticipate their return, sometimes even at unusual times or by unusual routes. There are also cases of animals finding their masters by traveling. We all remember the incredible journey. There is a case of a dog that was a Labrador Boxer mix who holds a Guinness World Record for traveling 2,000 miles across Australia to find his family after his owner moved without him. Now, you know that if it's Guinness Book of World Records, it has to be so documented. So that, is like, how do they do it? They do it with an Earth magnetic field, back to Aimee and Google Earth. They do sense of smell, and they have homing instincts. Of course, a dog that's trapped, like Buttercup was, couldn't get out, but had a surrogate in Aimee. So there are just so many wonderful things out there that we could go on, but we're here tonight with our live people that have done wonderful things with animals and can help you if you have questions. We'll have those at the end, and we'll start out, I think, with Aimee.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Aimee, how do you know that an animal loves you?
Well, that is interesting. How about that? I thought we were going to have music starting here or something. That is one of the most common questions that I receive when I do appointments with people and their animals. So aside from missing animals, I talk to animals that are in their physical bodies and that have crossed over. And that's always a question that people want to know. Your animal wouldn't be with you if they didn't love you. They have many opportunities to leave. As we know, Buttercup had an adventure, not because she didn't love her parents, but in her family. But animals come to us, they're meant to be with us. So the animals in your lives are in your lives for a reason. They're there to teach you something, you're there to learn from them, and they're there to give you unconditional love. And that's one of the most important parts of their job in being in your life. So it's a very common question. I haven't met an animal that doesn't love their person. Same thing probably with you. Yep.
Is my animal happy?
That's another question. Are they happy? So sometimes they're not. Sometimes they will have ideas of things that will make them happy, or it's our job to talk with you and them to find out what can make them happy. Just like we get bored doing the same thing every day, they need changes. They need changes in their environment. They need changes in their activities. And that's a common question I get a lot. And the answer most of the time is yes, that they are happy, but there are changes that can be made to their routine.
Does an animal want or need an animal companion?
That's a great question. And I don't know if Angela is here today. I spoke with her dog earlier today. Yep, there she is. So it depends. Some dogs want a cat, some cats want a dog or a guinea pig, but yes, they do want, they will let us know if they're looking for a companion. Some are fine, especially after another family member, animal family member passes. It might be their time to shine. They might not want another animal in the home. But if they're young and they're seeking a companion, they'll let us know. Communicators do get that information. With Angela today and her dog, she actually needs a friend, but we found that the downstairs neighbor dog is going to be a good friend for right now. And we found some activities that Penny would like to do, just using a recent example, and that will hopefully bring more joy to her life. So things that Angela can do for her, and hopefully with her having this neighbor dog right there, she can get the enjoyment she needs in the playtime without them needing to bring another member into the household right now. So it just depends on the animal and what they're looking for.
What do the animals like doing the most? What's their favorite activity?
That's a good question, too. I would say 99% of the time it's just being with their family members. But every animal is different on what they're going to want to be doing. But I think most of us who have animals here know that most of them are companions to us, and they fulfill our lives that way. So it just depends. Every animal wants to, they're all different. Everyone has something different that makes them complete.
Some of the animals might have certain behaviors, especially if they have been rescue animals or they've been in a household which was too much for them. Why are they barking or lunging at other dogs? They sometimes pee, cats will pee outside their litter box. Any kind of behavior issues. Is there anything that can be done about that other than a harsh trainer, or
Yes.
what could be done?
So I like to say that I like to work with, I don't have a vet background. I don't have a training background. When I got a dog 4 years ago, I went through the whole gamut of classes with her. I work with trainers, vets, because the animal can tell us as communicators what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, why they might be having these behaviors. Play pet detective in asking questions. Why are they, for instance, not using the litter box? There's always a reason. I remember reading years ago about, well, an animal isn't urinating on your clothes when you're going out of town because they're mad at you. How many of you have had that experience? No, they're upset because you're not telling them where you're going. You need to let your pet know you're going on vacation. Let them know before the suitcase comes out on the bed and you're packing your clothes. So they understand what's happening, and a lot of times they can get ticked off because you're not telling them. If I left the house and didn't tell my husband I was going on vacation, he probably would be a little ticked off. And so you have to think about these things. You know, your pet understands what's happening. They want to know, are you coming back? Who's watching us? Who's watching me when you're gone? How long are you going to be gone for? Where are you going? Why? Why can't I come? These are all things that they want to know. And so some of those things they'll result in a behavior that you're not anticipating or going to be happy with, but that's to get your attention. So to prevent that from happening, you can have conversations with them. And it can be out loud, it can be in your mind, but these are things that you have control, you have an influence over. Dogs barking is another big one. My dog barks all the time, and I'm an animal communicator, so either she barks, she's protecting. That's apparently one of her jobs, is to be a protector, and she does it more when I'm there versus my husband. I don't think she barks as much when I'm not around. So when I'm there, it's her job to let us know that there's a UPS driver there or there's someone walking their dog by. And I just have to remind her, it's a public street. Anybody can walk there. Thank you for letting me know. But she has to alert us. It's just a thing she has to do. That's part of her job. I didn't ask to have a protector when I adopted her, but apparently that was her job, and she feels that it's important, that that's something she needs to do. Every dog is going to have a different reason, but I like to work with trainers if it's a behavior that we can't talk through. So I always say to people that animal communication is just like they're getting their voice, they're being heard, they're getting it off their chest. Knowing that you are curious and interested in what they are thinking and feeling, we might not address the immediate thing that you contacted us about, but it's a way it opens doors, and your animal will see you differently because you're seeing them differently. So there's a change in behavior just from that. I always say it's like talking to a therapist. That doesn't mean the behavior is going to go away right away, but they're getting it off their chest, they're venting, they're letting it be known potentially, or they're hearing for the first time that you don't like something that they're doing. And it's like talk therapy, but it doesn't always solve, just talking to them isn't going to always solve the issue. You can also say, I have a fear of heights and I'm talking about it, but that doesn't make it go away. So you have to recognize that a lot of things need work. It's not just talking to somebody isn't just going to make it go away, but it can. It can bring it to light, and it can be a big help for your pets.
Here's a question that everyone has to face, because we know that the longevity of a cat or a dog or other type of pet, except for maybe a parrot, when are they ready to cross over? How will I know when my pet is ready?
That's a very common question, and it's unique to every animal. They're all going to want something different. Some want assistance in crossing over, and they'll let you know when it's time. You'll know in your heart when it's time. Other animals want to do it on their own, and that can be very difficult, but they will let a communicator, usually they'll let a communicator know. I will say that I think we owe it to our pets to be with them in their last moments. And I recently read something about, people, and I know this happens, I've seen it myself, where people drop their pets off at the vet. Some people cannot handle that, but they have given you their dedication and love, and that's one of the last gifts that you can give them. I think it's legal in Colorado for euthanasia, which is great. But it's not where I live, and I think it's our last gift we can give to our pets. It's the hardest thing. I'm not going to say it's easy, even though I know they live beyond their physical bodies. But it's very challenging. But we have to realize that they see things differently than we do. And they know that there's an afterlife, and they are free from physical pain. And so it's so difficult for us, but they are there after they pass. After they cross over, their spirits are still with us.
Have you had anyone contact you about feeling their animal after they've passed, perhaps in a manifestation of a physical form,
Yes.
a dream visitation, seeing the animal outside for a split second, anything like that? Have you had
All of that, yes.
Yeah.
So I learned about animal communication from a therapist I was seeing for body work. And she told me that this existed. I didn't know about this. And this was in 2008. And I thought, oh my God, there's no way that this is real. I have to learn how to do this, because if I had any wish, it was to be doing something like this. And so I met my first teacher because my myofascial therapist tuned me into this. And after I met her, she said, anyone can do this. It's telepathic. Anybody can learn how to do this. And her name was Rebecca. She has passed since, but she was a wonderful teacher. And so I learned communication from her because I went to see her with one of my cats that had been astray at one point. And I started doing communication, and my therapist, Aimee, her cat had passed. And I said, she's coming through to you as like gnats in the air. It was very strange, but that's what I got, and that's what I saw. And Aimee said, you know what? There have been gnats in my therapy rooms flying around, and I'm telling people, don't kill them, don't try to get rid of them, because that was her cat, Peavy. And so Peavy still comes around. She will once in a while see a gnat, and she knows that Peavy's coming around. And this was 15 years ago. So they definitely manifest in physical form, or they can come in different ways. Every animal, again, is going to be unique and different in how they do that.
Do you believe that some of this is a type of reincarnation?
Our animals definitely reincarnate. I have one that reincarnated. My cat, Phoebe, was my heart cat, and she was with me when I started doing communication. When Cassie passed away in 2015, I have friends that do communication as well, and I was told that, she's going to be doing some things on the other side. She's not sure if she'll come back. And as Phoebe was passing, I heard, I'm coming back, and I'll be back in 4 months. And it was very definitive, and I didn't think I was going to hear her. It can be challenging for a communicator to hear their own pets. I heard it clear as day, and my husband would send me pictures of cats that were available for adoption, and I was like, no, that's not her, that's not her. When I saw her picture, I knew it was her. She was in Michigan, I'm in Wisconsin, and I knew it was her right away. And the date that I was approved to get her was Cassie's birthday. So there was no mistaking. I get dates and numbers, and I knew it was her based on that. And it has been her. But when they come back, Cassie had a lot of health challenges. She had asthma, and she had some other things. And Phoebe has had some of those. She hasn't been classified as having asthma, but she will have breathing episodes. So we're doing a lot of energy work, and I'm working with another energy healer because, again, when it's your own pet, you can be too close to the situation. So I work with an energy healer that's helping with her clearing out that past life and the gunk, because she came back so quickly, she didn't have time to work on that and get rid of that before she came back.
And some of you may have been here a few years ago when we had the speaker, Dr. Jim Tucker, who was the successor of Dr. Ian Stevenson at the University of Virginia Department of Perceptual Studies. He was an amazing story of being a Southern Baptist minister who all of a sudden got interested in reincarnation, which is way off of the Southern Baptists. Anyway, Dr. Jim Tucker talked about reincarnation and past lives in children and how there were so many studies that all were connected. And so why couldn't there be with animals?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll go on to our other two wonderful guests, Ann Salisbury and Greg Meyerhoff. They were longtime residents of Colorado. They have been doing pet psychic readings. They have volunteered as pet psychics for the animal shelter in Summit County for over 10 years. They help match pets with people to ensure happy homes. They now live in Florida, and they give sessions by phone worldwide using clairvoyance and energy work. Their focus is on connection, communication, and relationships. How many of you in the audience have ever had a reading about your pet, a psychic reading, or talked to a clairvoyant, or talked to someone like Aimee or Ann or Greg? How did you become pet psychics? I mean, I know that you're psychic and intuitive because her website is gointuition.com. So highly intuitive, which could be psychic, clairvoyant, and all of that. But how did you get into the pet part of it?
Well, we were seeing people and businesses, and one of our people called in a panic and said, "My pet is dying. What do we do? What do we do? Can you please help? Can you please look at my dog?" And we did. We didn't know if it was going to work. It's like we were telepathically communicating with people, like pets. Okay. And it worked. The dog answered everything we asked and came back to health. And she was so excited, and we were so excited. So that started us off. And then right after that, we did one of those fairs. You know, Copper Mountain had dog days of the summit. And so we went over there and had a little booth, and the head of the Summit County Animal Shelter came in. You may...
Nancy Raines?
Yeah, Nancy Raines.
Has anybody heard her?
Anybody know her? Yeah, the director there. And she came in and she said, "I don't believe in any of this stuff, you know, but I've got a dog and I really love this dog and I don't want to have to put him down because 3 strikes and they're out." And so we looked at, it was an adorable black lab. She's like, "I've given him to 2 families. He's bitten the children both times. And it doesn't make sense. Labs are supposed to love families. What's going on here?" And we talked to, his name was Baron. And he said, "I don't like children. I just don't like them." And so we're like, okay. And that's why he said he bit them. He didn't like him playing with them. He didn't like him touching him. And so he said he wanted a single male who hiked. And so we told Nancy this. She's like, "Doesn't make sense, but we'll try it." And she adopted him out to single male. And she reported back to us later that he was fine, everybody was happy, no biting, and it was really great. So that's what got
And
us
then she
going.
invited us in to do this more often, just to every couple
Right.
of weeks come and look at all the animals and see where they would like to be adopted to, and it turned into a good relationship. We had a lot of fun seeing a lot of animals and talking to them and helping get good, happy families.
Right.
I bet they wish you were there now, and I bet that some of the other counties that have, especially the shelters, people are having more trouble now buying dog food, cat food, and so on, and they're giving up their animals, taking them to the shelters, and we need people like Aimee and Ann and Greg that can do this kind of thing and match people up with pets. I'm sure there's a deep sadness among the pets when they are relinquished to a shelter, or maybe not always.
Well,
What would you think?
This is really interesting because they would bring us in like every couple of weeks, or if they had a big issue, they'd call. And there were some dogs, and primarily more the pit bull Rottweiler variety, who we'd say, it's a kill shelter here if you're bad too many times. They don't want to be that way, but they will if you keep messing up. And some of these dogs would say to us, I don't care. See if I care. See if they kill me. See, I don't care. And we'd like, okay, so why don't you take a couple of weeks and think this over? We'll come back. We'll chat a little more. And sometimes they'd wake up and they'd say, okay, I've decided I'm going to be nicer. If I have to, I'll be nicer. And so then it worked out. And other animals, primarily the dogs, they would wonder, why am I here? I don't understand. What did I do wrong? And we'd say, well, sometimes your family needs to move. They can't take you with them. They want you to find a better house, better home. And so it's a loving thing they did. It's not a mean thing. And so you need to kind of gain some self-confidence here so that you can get adopted out to a family that's good for you. So then we train the animals how to believe in themselves again and how to want to be a loving person in the family so they would attract a good family. And they did. It was really wonderful to see.
But sometimes there's a situation that changes in a family. You might get a transfer, a new job, something happens, an illness, and it changes the dynamics, and you may or may not be able to keep that pet, okay? And that happened to me as a child. Well, not a child. Of course, all of us, we think back and go, oh, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? But anyway, we had a big dog, and then we got a little dog. And the little dog did not fit into the chaotic family of all the 4 kids and running around, so it would poop everywhere, right? We put it here, we put it there, and nothing happened. And at the time, we didn't have psychics to go to. So we had a neighbor, and we said, are you interested? Because they were looking for a small little dog. Took it over there. It was a lap dog. Sat in the lap all day watching TV with her, with the family, and never pooped again outside of where it was supposed to. So our family was a little too chaotic, and that was a perfect example of a match.
So in other words, sometimes people come to us and say, I'm at wit's end, I don't know what to do. I've had this shelter animal for a few years. I'm about to go crazy. It's doing all these acts that are really destructive. And we're like, okay, this is a burden to both of you. Let's face it and let's get a better matching family. So sometimes it is okay to take the pet back to the shelter or adopt them out. And we get that question a lot because people can get super stressed out and the animals can get super stressed out, and you can end up with a better situation.
Do you get a feeling when you are interacting with the animals that they are kind of surprised but happy that you are telepathically dialoguing with them?
They're
You're actually, I mean, they
Yeah.
probably have not had that before, right?
right. And they get it's really interesting because sometimes the cat will come and sit on the lap, or the dog will come over. They're like, okay, this is weird. You
when
know,
we're doing a session.
when we're doing a session, and we do it by phone. And so, yeah, they really get excited, and they like being heard. And a lot of times there's just a misunderstanding. Like you want to,
Okay, so we had a family that they got a new couch. Okay, it all goes back to the new couch. The old couch, the dog could get on, no problem. They got a new couch. Now the dog cannot get on the couch. It got on the couch. So then they said, we trained it. Every time it came in the room, they kicked it off the couch, but the animal still got on the couch. So they called us and they said, okay, what's going on here? And immediately the dog said, it hurts my bones. And we said, what? My bed. So it was getting on the couch because the couch was comfy and their bed was old and it hurt its bones. So guess what happened? They got a new bed for the dog and it never got on the couch. Simple.
but see, the dog had to explain what the problem was.
And
People just thought, our dog's not paying attention to us, right?
And so the dog really appreciated us clearing that misunderstanding up.
Right.
People thought it was a bad dog, and the dog's like, well, I have a reason. My bones hurt.
Yeah.
Why would you talk to a pet that has just passed over? You can learn a lot, and you can learn that they love you even when they have passed over.
A lot of that comes from the people. They want to know if their pet is okay. We had one situation where they put their pet down and they said, I don't know if I did the right thing. And it was weighing heavy on her heart. So she asked, how's my pet doing? And she was fine, running, playing, whereas before it was ailing and did not have a good time. And so it was happy. It said, it was fine. You did exactly what you needed to do. And so.
And her pet wanted to make sure that she understood there was no bad feelings here. None. It was fine. Everything was forgiven. She said, I was going to go in days anyway. I was really uncomfortable. I want you to understand you did the right thing. You made the right decision. And just having that healing. And so talking to pets on the other side, we get a lot of calls for, how is my pet doing on the other side now? And so we report, what they're showing us and how they can stay connected. And then the pet will say, well, didn't you feel me like right there next to you on the bed the other day? And they're like, oh, yeah, I did. See? So you just have to kind of acknowledge that some of the little things that you're noticing and you might put aside like, oh, what was I was just making that up. The pet will show up and say, you did not just make that up. I was there. Please feel me. Please know I'm still there and I love you. And so talking to pets on the other side is huge. It's a big healing. It really touches our hearts.
Have there ever been such a thing as a seance for pets?
I don't know. We haven't done them, but maybe somebody is.
Do you know?
I do not. No.
But you've talked to a pet on the other side, or many pets on the other side.
Yeah, it's easy. It's just as easy to talk to them alive as it is when they've crossed over. It's the same.
Because what you're doing is you're feeling, there's no air here and it's dry. Coming from Florida, it's like, where's the air? Somebody turned it off. Where's the water? We left it. 80% humidity and it's what, 15 here? Everything's drying up quickly. Where were we? What was the question?
Here's a question that everyone, you want to go on vacation, you want to leave your dog with your relatives or have them come in and your house while you're gone, but it doesn't work out. So you've heard of a very good doggy daycare place. And I'm wondering, what do dogs, with cats too, it's very tricky, but what are they saying about going to daycare? Or maybe they've gone to more than one daycare place and they like one more than another or this or that. Can you find out that information?
Well, there's two parts to that. The one part is traveling, okay? What do I do with my pet when I travel? Do I take it with me? Do I put it with some neighbor? Do I leave it in the house? So there's always this question. And so we had this lady got a new dog and very apprehensive, separation anxiety. So we worked with it for a while saying, okay, I'm going to be gone this many days and nights. So you kind of give a visualization, kind of the day and the night, so they know when you're coming back. So at first it was separation anxiety. Where am I going? What's happening? And over time, I got very comfortable with them traveling. They just projected where they were going, and you're going to your friends and having a vacation. So it was very easy now. So this last time, going to their place, their vacation home, where their parents are going for a vacation home. And the dog said, make sure that I have all my stuff when I go to my vacation home. So it went from separation anxiety to excitement that they were going and wanted to make sure all the toys, all the food, all the bed was brought with, because one time they forgot it.
Yeah,
They
she
had to-
admitted they forgot it once. And we had been working with her dog about doggy daycare for quite a while, because at first she didn't want to go and she would be bullied when she got there. And then she'd come home and say, some of these dogs are really stupid. And she's like, they're just dumb, and I don't need to talk to them. And so we had to work her through that. And we're like, well, maybe you're attracting the wrong dog there. And so we taught her some social skills, and then she met dogs she liked, and then she really liked going there. So that was a part of, what she would do when they were out of town, and it worked out. So every dog's different, because they all have personalities, and you have to kind of work them out. So, yeah.
That is so helpful, because it's something that everybody that has an animal comes across, that, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to take them with them? And
Right. So this one little doggy, she got so good at it that she is just confident, like, make sure. So, and in the beginning, she's like, I don't know where I should go. I don't think I'm going to make it. And then she was totally confident, and just shows they can grow and change.
do dogs or horses, for that matter, like being service animals?
Sometimes. So,
Because we're seeing more and more of that in the comfort and emotional ties with their animals, and it really helps them a lot.
yes. We had one dog who was really proud to be a service animal. He thought he had the most important job in the world. He thought he was just the greatest. And then we talked to another dog who was in training to be a service animal, and she called us because her dog was looking increasingly depressed. And so we asked, what's going on? And he said, I'm doing this because she wants me to. And I love her, so I'm going to do what she wants me to. But really, I'd rather not do it, and I'd really rather just go out and play. Oh. And so we told her, and then she came back to us, I don't know, like a year later, to let us know that her dog was so happy. He's made lots of friends, doggy friends, and he was playing a lot, and so that was his purpose. And then we've had horses too. You want to?
We had these, what do you call them? Therapy horses.
Yes.
And they were a group, and they were having trouble biting each other and kind of annoying each other. And we went there, and there's this huge field, and they're all bunched up together, biting each other. And we're like, what the heck is going on here? Why don't you spread out? So we started working with them, and part of my specialty is psychic energy work. And so I was helping them kind of create a little bubble around them, you know, kind of energy bubble around them to protect them. And we went on and we were reading each one of the therapy horses. And then at the end, the people there looked up and said, look at the field. And all the horses were separated in their own little place. And they all moved away, and they had their space, and they were happy. They weren't biting each other. It was the weirdest thing to
They were
see.
perfectly spaced. I mean, it was freaky weird. And we do, yeah, we do go to people's houses or like to their therapy place to do work too. And so it was impressive. And these were therapy horses. So if you think about it, they'd been doing therapy for everybody else, right? And they'd taken on the energy of the people they were helping, and they hadn't cleaned out. And so they were taking it out on each other, nipping at each other. So they needed Greg's energy work to clean them out so they could feel refreshed and they could be there for their people. So.
Is there anything that any of you would like to specifically talk about before we open it up to questions in the audience? And I think, Megan, are you going to be involved with questions in the audience, or someone with the microphone and so on? But is there anything you would like to tell people as they leave? Well, they'll leave after they ask questions, but some of them may be too shy to ask questions. Please think of something that you think they should go away with.
I got one. Okay, so we talked about they do things for a reason, all right? If you keep that in the back of your head, so the dog with the bones, the bed was not comfortable. So here we had a situation where there was this cat. Okay, so there was this cat, and it's a funny story, and it was peeing all over the place. And so we said, okay, what's going on? And the cat said, well, my life changed 3 months ago. Okay, how did your life change 3 months ago? And it didn't have a specific answer, but we asked the lady, I said, what happened 3 months ago? And she goes, oh, nothing's happened. My life has been great. And then all of a sudden, the light bulb went off, and she said, oh, I got a new boyfriend. And all of a sudden, she said, that's when the cat started. And we said, well, maybe the cat doesn't like your boyfriend. So soon after that, they broke up, and the cat went right back to being normal. So your pets can help you in your relationships.
Yeah.
Give you little messages.
Oh my God.
And that's happened more than once. We've had many that have trying to help out with relationships. So
It really makes sense, because I know of a situation in Boulder right now of a dog, a COVID rescue dog, that pees in the house because the owner is an anxious person. When the owner is not there and other people come in, it's female dog, does not pee in the house. What could be done? What could, if the owner wants to keep the dog, what could be done to have her stop peeing when the owner is there?
Well, we work with people and pets, right?
Right.
Because it's like everything in this world is about relationships, right? So when people bring us their pet as the problem, then we do a little educating, because the problem is in the relationship. So we have to improve communication. And we also have to notice, okay, if you're anxious, maybe that's hard on your pet. So what could you do to be more calm? Maybe take a walk, maybe take a long shower, learn to meditate, things like that, that the animal really likes. And then things smooth out. Now, so it takes both sides being willing to look at their own stuff, right? And then it can be just fine. Or if that does not work out, if one side is not willing to look at that, then that's when you consider, oh, maybe this isn't the best match. Maybe the dog is too sensitive to that kind of anxiety, and you need a more chill dog who kind of ignores you half the time, right? So that you would find a different home for that doggy. And that's an okay thing. Everybody's got to have the right match in every relationship, right? Because everybody's got stuff they're dealing with and stuff they're healing. And so you got to be on the same page there to help each other out.
Yeah, it's like magic when she's not there at her house because
Right.
the dog is fine.
Right. That gives you a lot of good information, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I would say too that in that situation, the animal is there as a teacher or a mirror for the person. And that's a very good opportunity if the person is recognizing that to have an aha moment and want to do something to change their life too, because that's going to improve their animal's life. I had a cat that did the same thing for me, and it would cause me to go, okay, what's making me anxious today? Why am I anxious? What's happening? And as I started working on that more, she wasn't as anxious. So they're there for a reason. They're there in your life for a reason. And that dog is clearly trying to get that communicated to her. I would tell her to
And
heed that
I
advice.
think it would be great for someone like Anne to talk to this dog. This dog is named Bridie. To talk to Bridie and say, how do you feel about all of the anxiety that your owner has? And I'm not giving out the owner's name. But let's think about opening it up to the audience with some questions, because you're never going to get 3 people like this again up here. So please start with your questions. There's some questions here in the back, and
Let's
so
start
on.
with some gratitude for the 4 of you. You can see hands already. There's no shortage. We are fortunate to have you here, and I trust that our audience will give you some great questions to chew
sure
on
they will.
as well. For those of you online, please email your questions to info@vailsymposium.org, and we'll do our best to get them into the conversation. Megan is here on this side of the room. We'll come around to you. The microphone will be on. Please speak directly into the microphone and not in the neighborhood of the microphone, because it doesn't work that way. And stand if you're able, and we'll get to as many questions as we can. We'll have some fun. You guys can get to know our audience. Megan, do you want to start on that side? I've got a lot of hands in the air over here. Okay, we'll start here.
I have 2, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to ask about 2. One is anxiety. My dog is currently, I'm watching him on the camera, howling after I've left. And he doesn't do that when my husband leaves him. And then secondly, and this isn't meant to be funny, but has there ever been, or could there be, where the dog needs to be, the human needs to be the dog's service animal/person? Does that make sense? Like, I don't necessarily need him, but he needs me. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Go for it. I'll answer the second question. So your dog needs you versus you needing the dog for service?
I mean, obviously I love him, but the way he reacts when I'm physically not with him, it's very stressful for him.
That's a good one.
Mm.
Right.
Next question.
Yeah. I mean, there could be a lot of different angles we'd have to communicate with your dog about that, but I would say yes, there's a possibility, but there's also something there for you to learn. He's trying to teach you something too. But definitely, obviously, you're giving him comfort and he's anxious when you're gone. But there's some reason for that. It could be, you guys are listening to people talk about animal communication, so I'll go a little woo-woo, but it could be some kind of past life that you've had together and some kind of agreement that he's here now in this lifetime connected with you to work on. It really just depends. We'd have to get into that, but I could see that as a possibility for sure, yes.
And some of it is just separation anxiety
Right.
and loves you and wants to, and then you have to just, part of it is they have to trust you. So if you say you're going to come back at a certain time, come back at that time. Or if you say, let's go for a walk, and then you don't go for a walk, the dog's like, well, happened again, no walk.
Mm-hmm.
Can't trust that person. So it's building that trust. And then, like Aimee was saying, there could be some energy work because sometimes you may calm the pet down, and then when you leave, that anxiety comes up again. But yeah,
That's where they need to ground
yeah,
sometimes, right?
You know how
You
it-
teach the dog to ground just like you learn to ground. Because when you're anxious, you're up and out of your body. Not completely, otherwise you'd be dead. But, but you just practice. And the more stressful the world becomes, the more we need to ground. So,
and you
All
can
right.
teach your dog to
Yeah.
ground. We'll do that tomorrow at the workshop.
Hi, thank you so much. This is really fun. I co-parent a dog, and my husband equates food with love. And I pick my battles in my family. But how could I communicate to my dog that she will be healthier if she doesn't take all the food that she begs for and he gives her?
good luck with that one. Most dogs like food and walks and things, So if you're offering it, they're like, okay, I'll take it. So it would have to be maybe an authority figure explaining to your husband and you what is in the best interest of the dog to convince the human how to do with the dog, right? Because the dog's going to take the food, most likely. Most dogs, right? Isn't that what you found? Yeah.
Well, and they might know who the person who is going to be in the family that gives the treats. I give the treats more than my husband does. That's just the way it is. So she knows mom is going to give me something versus they just know where to go. So if you need to cut back, I would just tell your husband maybe it's not as many treats in a day. But like you said, they still are
It's a
gonna want
negotiation
Right.
thing, right? A human negotiation thing so that the dog can understand what to do, what's in its best interest.
Excuse me. Hello. When you communicate with a dog, are you hearing words or are you having a feeling from them? Are you picturing something? How are you actually communicating for each of you with the animals?
Well, all the above, right? So you telepathically communicate, you get images, you have a sense of knowing, you hear words in your head, you get a feeling like when the client will ask a question, you'll get a feeling that it's definitely not that, so let's look someplace else, So it's all of that. Yeah.
I would say it's all of it. It develops over time. I didn't start getting messages all these different ways. I am more claircognizant. That's how I started. So I just knew. And the information comes in and it comes in very quickly. And sometimes I might not remember everything that the animal has downloaded essentially. So I might have to ask more probing questions. But over time, I've developed clairvoyance, clairaudience. So it comes in different ways. And as somebody, it's like a muscle. So the more you do it, or like a foreign language, the more you're speaking it. I've heard animal accents before. I mean, it's like, she sounds like she's from England, or, somebody from California, or just, I mean, I hear all different types of things. So you can feel it too in your body. You have to be grounded so that you know what's yours and what's the animal's. And that's something too, that you don't want them to take your stuff on, and you don't want to take their stuff on either. So being really grounded is good for everyone.
And you do get them different ways. I see energy, so I can kind of, you heard of auras and stuff. I can kind of see that. So that's my specialty. So Ann will do the clairvoyant work, and then I'll do the energy work. But one day I was doing a pet reading, and I got this image of a rock band. Just a rock band, with the guitars are standing up there. And I went, this is really strange. Now, how do I tell, the person there that their dog is showing me an image of a rock band? So I had the courage, and I said, I'm seeing a rock band. And guess what? She says, oh, we have a rock band. I said, oh, okay. Well, the reason the dog was there is because it had hearing problems. And they had done antibiotics, and they'd done creams, and the ear was still hurting. They had maxed out on the medical side, and they came. It was because the dog would be there with the rock band. And so we did a little negotiation and said, okay, what can you do if you're not going to give up your rock band? What can you do? So they agreed to put the dog in another part of the house to start reducing the ear problem. And so rock bands. So if you see a rock band, now you know what it's all about.
And I can tell you one other funny story too. We had a bird that was squawking, and the family was so upset they couldn't get any peace. Squawk, squawk. And and they're like, we can't teach it any more new words. It learned all these words, and now it won't learn any. It's just squawking at us. And the bird showed us the image you were mentioning, accents and all. It showed us an image of being a gentleman in a gentleman's club in England with a newspaper open, and everyone was silent, right? And so the bird wanted silence. The family kept wanting to teach him words and do all this stuff. And the bird's like, no. So we said, well, what bird do you want to do? And it wanted to be in a room where it was quiet. So they put the bird in a room where it was quiet, and they would go in and visit with it, and they'd spend 10 minutes just in silence with it, and everybody was happy after that. So, yeah, fun.
Yeah.
We've got a quick question from the online audience, and then we'll come back in the room.
Okay?
Are dreams of pets after death a sign of communication?
Yes.
It's the same with
Same with
humans.
people.
Yep.
Because they visit you. It's easier to connect when somebody's asleep and their conscious mind is off, right? You just talk to the unconscious. And so loved ones from the other side connect a lot that way. So you can ask to dream with them, and then just keep a journal next to your bed and write in it before you get out of bed while you're still in that state. And you'll get a lot of information from your pets and your people.
When you're awake, grief can keep that communication from occurring, or from the energy coming in, because our energy is lower when we're experiencing grief. And so it's easier when you're dreaming for that to come through too.
Hi. How do we get in touch with you guys? Because it'd be great to have a contact number or some way to reach you. I have a Phoebe. She is a rescue and was taken out of the rescue. It was a kill shelter. They had taken her there to be euthanized. And she is like, people know her in Avon before they know me. She'll walk up to you and just sit. You pet. People love her. She is a little bit spooked though, especially around other dogs. It's like she knows their energy. They're definitely giving her a vibe, and sometimes she'll get really upset, and sometimes she'll ignore the dog. And I'm just wondering, I hear you talking about talking to her. So what can I say to her to let her know that she's safe and
Well,
that it's
she might
okay?
be picking up on things that you're not able to. So another dog, their energy. I know you. I'm just thinking about one of the examples you gave, but just, I mean, they have personalities, and every dog is unique. So they can pick up on a dog and know that I don't want anything to do with that dog, or this dog's going to be my best friend. So, were you going to add to that?
Yeah, and you can also, a lot of times there are issues, right? Just like people have issues. If you have an issue that you haven't resolved, then you can overdo stuff. Like that one dog we had that just kept barking and barking and barking.
Um,
Or a couple of them I'm thinking of. One in Denver that was
oh, yeah.
on the street. It turned out it was a rescue dog that was on the street for a year. Get a load of that. And it just barked. They couldn't get it to stop barking. We asked the dog, why do you keep barking? Well, because I have to protect myself, of course. And so we're like, okay, well, let's get this straight. You're no longer on the street in Denver by yourself. Isn't that right? Yes. And you're now in a wonderful family. Isn't that right? Yes. So this is a different situation. So let's let go of the past. Let's give thanks that you're now in this wonderful family, and you can chill. These people are going to take care of you. Look, aren't they wonderful? Don't you like them? And so he said, yes. So we're like, okay, so you can let go of the barking. So in other words, your dog just needs to have some communication around what the heck happened before so you can heal it, because everything can get healed. When people say, oh, that's my issue, I can't heal it, well, then that's true. They can't heal it if they think that's what their identity is. But if you can get past that with your doggy, right, and say all the goodness that is in life, why not enjoy the goodness now, then it can move ahead.
And to answer your first question, we're at gointuition.com. And Aimee?
I will have a website up soon, which is animalconnectingandhealing.com. It's all spelled out.
We'll send a follow-up email.
Okay.
Hi. My question is a good follow-up to that one, because I think that's very much what our dog went through. We have a rescue corgi, and we've had him for 9 years. He honestly did not bond with us for 2 entire years. And then he slowly softened. But I guess my question is, how important is it? We always wonder, where did you come from? What happened to you that really damaged you so much? And we just can't really let go of that. So how important it is to know that, or can we just tell him that he's safe? And
Well, it's
Try
really
to get it.
interesting. So we get those questions a lot. And sometimes the dogs will show us the image of what was bad. And other times we realize that there's, it's kind of like the more you talk about the problem, the more you anchor in the problem.
Yep.
Right? And so when some people say, my rescue dog's got a problem, it's a rescue dog, that's why it's got a problem, that just solidifies it. So sometimes it's important to know what the problem was so that you can heal it. Other times you can just ask, what is the issue that you're holding on to? We don't have to know the image. We just need to know what is the feeling that you're having. And then we need to get beyond that. So then you can say, here's what you're feeling. Show me what you're feeling. Okay, how would you like to feel different? And sometimes they don't even know. They've had that feeling for so long, they don't come up with a solution. So that's where we help them. Like, okay, what about this? What about that? How would this feel? What if you did that? And so you just keep massaging it until you come up with something that works. And then you have to make sure it works for you guys too, not just for your pet, because they could come up with, live in a castle, getting all the food they possibly want, and so then you bring it back to reality and work together.
And there are also times when animals don't want you to harp on the past. They just want to let it go. They're not focused on it. They've let it go. They want to move along, and you keep focusing on it. Like you said, my dog is a rescue dog. There must be a reason. Something happened. And they just want a new start. And a lot of times animals, in trainings I've done on energy work too, it's like it's in the past and they've let it go. Some animals are very good at just letting things, they're able to ground and let things go, and they don't want you focusing. So for 2 years, you might have been like, oh, what was the problem? What happened? There must be something. And so they're going, well, maybe I need to be worried about that. Maybe I should keep thinking about that. And they don't need to.
And you
Fresh
did it out
start.
of love.
Right.
You were
course.
concerned.
Of course.
So it's just a matter of educating and updating and seeing what'll work.
Yep.
Right?
And then, do you want to go through all your garbage that you've had
No.
in the past? Your dog will sit there and tell me all your issues now.
Right.
So if you think of it in that way, it's like, let's move on.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. I'm sure we're all interested to learn. Aimee, you mentioned that you taught yourself how to talk to your dogs. And so I would love to learn how to speak to my dog more intuitively.
So I had teachers. I learned from Rebecca, who was my first teacher, and then I've met other teachers, but you learn as you go along and as you practice it. As you talk to each animal, you learn something new. So there are books out there that you can learn. There are teachers out there. I believe do you teach animal communication?
Well,
I mean, we're teaching you tomorrow some basic information.
yeah, and so like Aimee said, she spent some years studying it, right? So during my doctoral research on intuition, I also took like 3 years of training to be an intuitive because I needed it for my research. And I realized that I had been intuitive since birth, and I had shut it down because I kept being told, you shouldn't know that. How do you know that, right? So just giving yourself permission. So it can take a while because you have to get neutral, right? So meditation is really good to get you neutral. And then you open your clairvoyance, you open your telepathy, and you have to allow yourself some time for it because this world teaches you to be analytical. It gives you rewards for being analytical. But this is the intuitive side. And so, yes, seek out some place, and we're coming out with a couple of books on psychic readings next year in 26. So there are lots of things are opening up for you to do it.
When you take classes, you are learning a new skill, but you're practicing it right away too. So I was learning and practicing and doing it all around the same time. It's just over the years, things have become clearer. I can sense things differently. And again, it's just like a foreign language. You pick it up and you practice it more and more. And I still have teachers that I go to and I learn new things. So it's an ever ongoing type thing for me.
It's like being in a relationship, right? You think when you're in college or something, you know it all, right? And you keep screwing up and screwing up and screwing up. And then you learn to be a little better in a relationship and a little better. So it's the same thing with communicating with animals. You just keep getting better and better at it.
And practicing your own intuition helps a lot. Just as simple as I'm going into a parking lot. Which lane do I go down to find a parking place? You start with that or something like that. Or when you hear a message from your inner self saying, I should call this person. The thing is you want to act on it. And so if you act on it and you call them, they say, oh, I was just thinking about you. So that's proving your intuition, and it's giving you more confidence. So if you start with that, that always helps because it starts opening up your consciousness to receiving different kinds of information.
Because intuition is...
We all have it.
We all have it. We're all born with it. They try to take it out of us, but we all have it. So we just have to kind of reawaken it. And it goes everywhere with everything. You can talk to rocks, you can talk to waterfalls, you can talk to everything. And we have a lot of those interesting stories on our blog, on our website. If you just go there, you'll see. And that can just having the affirmation or the confirmation that you can talk to anything, that instills confidence.
She talks to the rocks. I don't talk to the rocks.
I do. I talk to rocks.
I will say, when I started communicating
But I'm
with
there to
animals,
support her in talking to the rocks.
I talk to insects. I don't, I try not to kill them, and bees, flies, ants, all of it. Like, it opens your eyes to understanding that everything is alive, conscious.
Well, I so appreciate you saying all this, because I've been trying for a long time to talk to my dog. And sometimes I feel like that intuition comes, so I'm going to keep practicing. My neighbor really wants me to ask you why my dog chews her bed while we eat dinner. And I think it's a stress thing. I'm pretty sure it's a stress thing, but is that like normal?
Maybe it tastes good.
So I will say that
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
you're talking to your animal, and your animal is hearing you, but you have to have that confidence that your animal understands you. And there was something else I was just going to say about that. It'll come back to me. I'm sorry.
I know it will.
Yeah.
I've experienced that too.
Yes.
Okay, but it's all different kinds of beds. So he'll chew up one bed that is all fluffy and whatever. And then they get him another, and it's a different kind of bed, and he chews up that one too. So how many beds has Ryder had?
What I was going to say is that animals, they see what you are showing them in your mind. So I always use the example of people who do not like cats, and the cats always go to them. It's because in your mind you're going, don't come over here, do not come by me, I don't like cats. And they're just seeing the image of them walking towards you. And you're trying to tell them, don't come by me, but they're not seeing the don't. They're seeing the picture that you're sending, which is they're coming to you. So you have to give them something that you want them to do. So if it's not chewing a bed, don't show them chewing a bed. Show them chewing a bone or something different, what
Yes,
you
'cause
want them to do.
The unconscious does not hear the word not. It does not see it. There is no image that goes with not. Putting a line through a circle does not do it.
Right.
So you have to project a different image. So if you want the dog only to lie on the bed and not chew on the bed, show the image of, okay, you go to your bed when you lie down. That's when you go to your bed. Because it looks like the dog just is doing it because it's entertaining. Yeah.
Probably feels good on his teeth too.
Yeah.
And we'd probably have to look at it a little deeper to see what's going on.
Yeah.
But entertainment.
Yeah.
So my question has to do with dogs that you foster. So I have 2 dogs. One I've had for almost 12 years that I'm very bonded to, that I believe my best friend died on the day he was born, and I believe he is her spirit. He is exactly like her personality. 5 years ago during COVID, I rescued one from the Humane Society, and it took 7 months with Jennifer Valentine, who's a local trainer, to help me get the dogs to integrate. And through death in my family, there were 2 6-year-old dogs who were not well trained, meaning not potty trained fully, and did not know basic commands, that I sort of ended up having to foster at the last minute. And so I'm now dealing with all different temperaments and different bonding. And obviously the 2 new dogs have just experienced this huge loss, and they were very much neglected in the situation that they were in before they came to me. So I'm trying to figure out how best to integrate all of them, because I have some living in one part of the house and some living in the other part. So if you could give some guidance on that, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Well, The one thing that we see is, kids need some direction too, right? So animals like direction, and they really like you at the top of the pyramid. Okay, so if you keep that in your mind, a lot of times we'll have a rescue and, oh, it needs this and needs that, and the whole life is the dog. Not your life, but it's the dog's life or the cat's life or the guinea pig's life. So if you can get back to where they feel comfortable with you being the boss and you kind of figuring out what you want to do with them, it helps. So it's, you know, you want to be at the top of the pyramid to help out with that. So that's one of the first things. Are you at the top of your pyramid? Are you the head of the household with all the pets? And then you have to look at the situation and see what you can do. I mean, it's pretty complicated.
And a lot of people want to take care of their pets so much, and they're so loving and so kind that they forget the top of the pyramid part. And that's really important. And the other thing is, when you're at a place where it's a burden like that, where you've got different animals in different rooms, and we've had this with clients, right? That's when you start asking yourself, okay, am I stressed out? And if you're stressed out, the likelihood is so are the dogs. And so then you can open yourself up, and I know a lot of people don't want to even think about opening themselves up to this, but it's a loving, kind thing to do, to think, okay, so what if some of these dogs were living in another family where there are less dogs and it can work out better? And because truly we've seen beautiful things unfold when you allow yourself to open up to other possibilities.
We have a last question over here.
Oh, thank you. This has been very interesting. Thank you. I have a senior dog.
A what?
A senior dog who lost his hearing 2.5 years ago. I spoke with him all the time. Now he follows me everywhere and stares, and I still talk to him. But how am I communicating with him? Am I conveying images through my words?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Make a more conscientious effort of doing that. So they will see what you're seeing, but just make sure when you're communicating with him that you are sending pictures of what you want him to see and do. But
I've not done
when
that.
one of those,
You what?
I've not done that at all. In the 2.5 years, he's not heard my words.
Yeah, animals think in pictures. So project an image, a movie, like a movie, and they'll get it.
And
and that sense is, oh, I'm sorry, Greg. I was just going to say his intuition and his sense of picking up, you know, it's natural for them, but he's going to be even more receptive because one of his senses is gone. So now he has to rely on others.
Right. And he stares at me all the time.
So send him those images.
Okay, thank you.
What were you going to say?
Sorry.
Oh, what was I going to say?
Oh, senior, okay.
I can't hear. Well, and also remember that their sense of smell, and I've heard many different numbers, they said 60 times greater than ours, and I just read something that's 10,000 times greater than ours. So they pick up very minute changes in your smell. So they can tell if you're anxious or you're sad or you're all by their smells. So a lot of the communication your pet has can be through that smell. Like they can tell what you're doing in another room somewhere. So
Plus, it's similar, Aimee said earlier, you know, when you lower your vibration, it's not as good for the pet. So if your vibration naturally lowers when you have a negative thought or an upset. So if you're upset that he can't hear anymore, that lowers your vibration. And so then he'd be more concerned. So if you can kind of raise your vibration, be thankful your doggy's there, how wonderful. And yeah, he can't hear, but he can see and he can walk. And so you give that thanks, then you're going to find it gets easier and better too. Okay.
Unfortunately, we have reached our time. I know there were a lot more questions out there. They'll stick around to entertain some here before we close the night. But would you please join me in expressing our gratitude? Aimee and Anne, Greg and Jackie, thank you.